the introduction, and also special thanks to the PayDirt team and for everyone making the time to attend this event. I'll be providing an update today on Ardea's Kalgoorlie Nickel Project and focusing on our collaboration with the Japanese consortium, as mentioned earlier, Sumitomo Metal Mining and Mitsubishi Corporation, and we see this as a very important critical minerals collaboration between Australia and Japan. Australia and Japan have been key allies and good friends for a long period of time, and we need to see that friendship continue to develop and expand to ensure critical minerals diversity of supply and security of supply. Quick standard disclaimer, and this presentation is available for download from the Ardea website. We'll just start with a very quick corporate snapshot and shares on issue, very tight and disciplined capital structure. We're up to 210 million shares on issue, and just in between Easter and Anzac Day, we're very proud to see Sumitomo Metal Mining become a substantial shareholder with a 5.1% interest in Ardea, and we see that as a very strong endorsement of our ongoing collaboration, and we very much appreciate their support as we continue to advance Australia's largest nickel cobalt project. We're well funded. We've got a great board and executive management team, and it's the people that enable the project to proceed. And with our currently wholly owned subsidiary, Kalgoorlie Nickel Proprietary Limited, we've got 49 people within the owners team, so we've seen rapid growth since the definitive feasibility study commenced. A bit more now on the project itself. So our location in Western Australia is shown in the image on the top left, and then the image on the far right shows all of our tenements. So that totals about 3,500 square kilometres in the eastern goldfields of Western Australia. Throughout my career, I've spent about half of my time working overseas, and without a doubt, Western Australia is the best resources operating jurisdiction in the world, and it's a very deliberate strategy to focus on the Kalgoorlie Nickel Project. We get maximum reward for effort in a very well-known, secure jurisdiction. We have direct access links to key infrastructure, road and rail passing through our granted mining leases, and the focus of the definitive feasibility study with the consortium is called the Goongarrie Hub, and they're the tenements shown in green on the image on the right, and the other projects shown in red, they retained 100% by Ardea, with our partners progressively earning a 50% interest in the Goongarrie Hub. You can see the resource figures there. Globally, the Kalgoorlie Nickel Project hosts some 6.1 million tonnes of contained nickel, so it is a globally significant asset. A little bit of detail now about our partners. We have Sumitomo Metal Mining and Mitsubishi Corporation about to earn their first 17.5% interest in Ardea. Once the definitive feasibility study is complete, they will move to 35% interest in KMPL, and upon a final investment decision being made by the consortium, they will move to a 50% interest. But that final 15% is the most important, because that means all the approvals are in place, and equally as importantly, the key project development capital has been secured, and we'll be working very closely with our partners and certainly with both the Australian and Japanese governments to see this project proceed. The definitive feasibility study well underway. We commenced around the middle of last year, and we're building upon a pre-feasibility study that the Ardea team completed on the 5th of July 2023. We demonstrated a 40-year ore reserve, some 30,000 tonnes of nickel and 2,000 tonnes of cobalt production every year. We're looking to build upon that in the DFS. We demonstrated a low strip ratio, conventional open pit mining operations, so life of mine strip ratio 8 tonnes of waste per every tonne of ore. We see that the gold sector strip ratios of 6 and even 10 and beyond with the high gold price are very common. So you can see our strip ratio is very low, and that contributes to our low cost base. There are 9 mineral deposits within the Goongarrie Hub. We're currently only assessing 6, so in reality I expect this project to be going in excess of 50 years, and giant deposits like this are incredibly rare and strategic, particularly in the best operating jurisdiction, as I mentioned, in the eastern goldfields of Western Australia. You can see there too the road and rail passing through granted mining leases, and the ore reserve blocks are shown there in red. Now, our operating costs based on our 2023 PFS are globally competitive. So on a C1 basis, nickel only, it's about $10,000 a tonne. The current nickel price has been moving between a range of about $15,000 to $16,000 a tonne, and including the cobalt byproduct credit, it's about $6,000 a tonne. So it's very important to note that Australian nickel projects, and in particular the Goongarrie Hub, can be cost competitive with all global peers. There's been a lot of talk about the death of the Australian nickel sector, and I can assure you it's greatly exaggerated, and we're going to see continued growth in the nickel market, and we'll see a significant price response. But as I've demonstrated with this slide, we are cost competitive at current nickel price levels. A little bit about the unique attributes that contribute to our low cost base. So majority of the material's free dig. I mentioned the conventional open pit mining operation. You can see in the cross section there, in places the mineralisation's over 100 metres thick at plus 1% nickel. Again, that's very rare for a nickel deposit. Most nickel laterites tend to be 20 to 40 metres thick. That's due to preferential weathering. We've had all the silicate minerals largely leached out of deposits like Goongarrie South, which is our largest and highest grade deposit. Favourable metallurgical performance, so we're a very low acid consumer compared to all of our Australian peer projects. Acid is our largest cost consumable, and we also generate our own neutraliser. So every processing operation around the world that uses sulfuric acid must neutralise that acid discharge to safely dispose of the tailings in the environment. That's paramount, that's non-negotiable. We always operate to high standards in Australia, and DEA and our partners will be continuing to set and meet that benchmark. But it's the low acid consumption that sets us apart from most of our peers. And as I mentioned, we've got the mineralised neutraliser that will neutralise that acid discharge rather than having to purchase and import limestone and have that trucked several hundred kilometres to site with added cost and added CO2 emissions. We avoid that. In terms of the demand for nickel, there's no doubt it's going to grow. We've got traditional uses such as stainless steel. We've got the growing EV sector, but we've also got large-scale energy storage batteries. Last year, Australia was the 3rd largest country in the world to put in place these large-scale energy storage batteries. We're going to see that growth continue. So whichever way you look at it, through traditional uses and the energy transition, the demand for nickel has to grow, and the supply side response is going to come through in Australia from projects like the Goongarrie Hub, and we will see price appreciation in nickel expected from 2030 onwards. And all the independent forecast analysts are saying from about 2030 onwards, we're going to see the nickel market move back into deficit, and we're going to see a strong price response. But we can be competitive also at current pricing levels. Just now, we focus very much on the nickel and cobalt. We're going to be producing a mixed sulphide precipitate, grading about 60% nickel But there is byproduct credit potential from other critical minerals such as scandium, and that's what I want to highlight here. And the scandium market is currently only about 40 tonnes per year. It's quite small. However, we expect to see increased demand. So scandium, for example, is used as an additive to aluminium to create a high-strength, lightweight aluminium alloy. We're going to see the demand for that continue to expand. So that's additional upside within the Kalgoorlie Nickel Project, and our partner Sumitomo Metal Mining are already a scandium producer and understand the market very well. Just need to highlight that projects like Goongarrie and the broader Kalgoorlie Nickel Project must be developed to provide that essential supply chain diversity and security. Just also additional upside potential within our tenements. We see in the Eastern Goldfields there's gold mines, there's lithium mines, there's nickel mines. It is a treasure trove, and with 3,500 square kilometres of tenure, we're not losing sight of that potential upside. We're certainly focused on delivering the DFS and ultimately developing Goongarrie with the Japanese consortium, but there is additional upside within our tenements, so we have that internal pipeline of growth opportunities. In terms of ESG standards, the team within Ardea and our wholly owned subsidiary KMPL, it's about a 50% ratio between males and females. It's certainly not a self-enforced key performance indicator. It's the best person for the job, and we're certainly leading the way in gender diversity. We maintain great contacts with all of our local stakeholders. Matt Collins and I were in Kalgoorlie last week catching up with a local team and key stakeholders. Because of our flow sheet and having an on-site acid plant that produces byproduct steam, we use that steam to generate power off-grid and reduce our CO2 emissions. So everything we're doing is linked to that energy transition and targets such as carbon neutrality by 2050. And it's all focused on that critical minerals collaboration between Australia and Japan. The DFS, well underway. These are some of the key service providers. We've gone right round the world for that expertise, noting that Perth is very much one of the resource capitals of the world, so we have a lot of highly skilled service providers here. But if we need to go externally for additional expertise, we have. So the DFS has a budget of $98.5 million, and it's currently been fully funded by our partners, and as mentioned earlier, with a contribution from the Japanese government, which we're obviously very grateful for as well. So just in concluding, this is Australia's largest nickel cobalt project. It's one of the largest nickel cobalt projects in the world, but there's additional upside as well from other critical minerals like scandium. We've already defined a plus 40-year ore reserve in our 2023 PFS, and we're building upon that with the in-progress, fully funded DFS. Now, we're already contributing in our own way to both the local, state and federal economy. As I mentioned, between Ardea and KMPL, we've got almost 60 people already employed, and we're going to need to continue to grow significantly to develop this project. We're working with the best possible partners in the world. Sumitomo Metal Mining are fully integrated through every aspect of the nickel supply chain. They are a global leader, and they have already developed 2 nickel laterite projects in the Philippines that at that point in time were the most successful nickel laterite projects to be developed anywhere in the world. Mitsubishi Corporation have been investing in large-scale resource projects around the world. We collaborate and bring in every partner's expertise into the DFS. We have monthly in-person meetings. We have detailed weekly and daily communication to make sure we deliver the best possible DFS in the best possible resources operating jurisdiction in the world. So thanks very much for your time. Enjoy the rest of the event and join me in making all of our guests and our